You knew you wanted to be an actor?
No. And I know it's hard to believe because
Yeah.
the assumption is that if your parents are in the industry,
Yeah.
but I was always a performer.
Where were your parents at that time? Like with you, were they like, go for it? Or were they like, learn this? It's not easy.
They've given a lot of importance to learning constantly, even now. I have a lot of guidance, and that is the privilege I say I have because my parents are there to guide me.
At what point, which role do you think or which character did make you realize that, yes, I can do this, I am good at this?
I think early on, a lot of casting directors made me aware
Okay.
that you're on the right path.
Okay,
Because that
that's-
validation is important,
Yeah.
even from your casting directors. And then eventually, of course, when your audience likes you, that is the most important.
Was getting fan and being with Shah, was that a big high by itself? Like so early in your career?
It hit me when I finally arrived on set and I saw him.
Yeah.
And I think anybody who's worked with him will tell you this, that such a pleasure to
Yeah.
work with him.
Now going forward, does it become tougher from here, do you think?
When I saw my name on the Forbes list
Yeah,
of 50
yeah,
and
wonderful.
it just struck me in that moment that okay, people have taken notice.
Right.
Today, a good script is more important than anything else.
Okay.
You can't fool the audience
Right.
anymore,
Right.
Most of the characters I've liked have incidentally been
Right.
in the OTT space.
Mhm.
So I'm focusing more on film work now. Hi, I'm Shriya Pilgaonkar and you're watching Bollywood Hungama.
Shriya, welcome to Bollywood Hungama. Good to see you once again.
Thank you. Long time.
Long time, I know. In fact, I wanted to read up so much before coming. I wanted to see a lot of interviews, and there's so much interest in, in what all you've done. But I didn't see much out there, so I'm going to make this an interview where anyone who wants to know about you, this should be the go-to interview.
Oh wow, a lot of pressure on you.
That's
Rohit.
fine. Used to it. Right. I'll take you back to your initial acting jobs. You knew you wanted to be an actor?
No. And I know it's hard to believe because
Yeah.
the assumption is that if your parents are in the industry,
Yeah.
you want to. But no. But I was always a performer. Growing up when someone said, "Acha, beta dance karo, gao,"
Natural.
I would not feel shy. I would do
Okay.
it. I just had many other interests, and I never had the pressure to know very quickly in one word what I want to do in life. So I
Right.
think I was just doing many things. I was a professional swimmer, so that was happening. Then I was also, I'm very academic. I like to study. So there were several things I was doing. I was studying sociology, so that was happening.
Okay.
Making short films. I was just doing a bunch of many different things. So
Right.
acting happened much later.
And parents were like, you do what you want?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, just explore, do what you want, keep learning. I think they've given a lot of importance to learning constantly, even now.
Okay.
In
that's
fact, it's funny,
amazing.
but I learned how to skate a couple of months ago.
Wow.
And everybody was like, why skating? I said, because as a child, I was scared and I never learned it. But a lot of my friends are good skaters and they rollerblade and I was feeling left out. So I said, why not? Because there's no age to learn things.
Absolutely.
So I think you need to constantly keep doing that.
Right. Were you a good student? From what all you remember, were you like, where were you when it came to studies?
So I was not the topper,
Okay.
but I was that last minute padke second rank.
What? Last minute padke second rank.
So people used to think, wait, are you the kind of person who lies that you're not studying but you're secretly studying? I said, no, I used to enjoy what I was studying.
Right.
And I would do decently, but not one of those obsessive students who had to come first. Bas aa jati thi second, third.
Wow, amazing.
First
yeah.
nahi
This
aayi
is right. Also you did swimming at a major level. Like you spent a lot of time swimming.
Yeah.
What did you want to take that up at some point?
Yeah. I mean, when you're, as a sportsman, when you're training, unless you're aiming for like the Olympics, there's no competitive, spirit. So I think I very much had that goal to do it professionally and for a long time. And you can't even give your 100%. You have to give your 2000% because your first and second place is a microsecond difference in the pool.
Right.
So I think I trained for 10 years with a lot of focus. In fact, my school had also given me permission to come late. I went to the States. I was training there as well. So that was my life. And in fact, a lot of people thought that this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
So there was no question of even asking me what do you want to do, because my actions showed that this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
But sometimes you grow out of things, and I felt I took the best out of it.
Right.
And then it was time to move on.
Right. It also teaches you a lot of other things, right? Sports does teach you another level of discipline.
Absolutely. And in fact, if there's one thing that I've taken away from my journey as a swimmer is that I'm an early morning person. So I don't struggle to wake up early.
Wow.
I do have that discipline still in me. My mother thinks I'm not disciplined as I used to be, so she keeps thinking it was a waste. But yeah, I think I feel once a sportsman, always a sportsman.
Always
that spirit also somewhere is there inside.
Right. Amazing. And you know, at some point acting discussions started at home. Where were your parents at that time? Like with you, were they like, go for it, or were they like, learn this, it's not easy?
So interestingly, there were no acting discussions. What happened is that, so of course in school in the 4th grade, 5th grade, you've done plays, right? So I've done a lot of plays. I've done been part of your debates and elocutions and your musicals in school and all of that. In fact, I was part of this play in the 4th grade called Delna's and the Chocolate Cake. And the only reason why I did that play is because we would rehearse with real chocolate cake every day.
Wow, that's
so that was the incentive for all of us kids. But the first time I think when my parents realized was when, so a friend of mine was making a 10-minute play for the NCPA Short and Sweet Festival in 2012. And the play was called Freedom to Love. And he needed an actor who could sing, dance and act. And I met him when I was doing a short course at FTII, and he said to me, you know, do you want to do it? I'll audition you for it. I said, oh, okay, sure. I mean, no problem, I'll do it. And he liked my audition, and for that 10-minute play, I ended up rehearsing for 1 month.
Wow, okay.
And it was that 1 month of rehearsal time that I just realized that this feels very natural to me. It feels like it's using all of me. And this just feels like I was meant to do this.
Right.
And while I was doing that, it's not like I went and told my parents that aapki beti abhi acting karegi, no.
None of this
In fact, my mother said, wait, what's going on? Don't tell me you want to be an actress now. I said, I don't know. Let's take it as it comes. Because I was very clear, Rohit, that I don't want to operate from an entitled space.
Right.
I was also very clear that I want this journey to be organic, not just because it's the trajectory, you know.
Correct.
So I'm happy the way it happened because I valued it much more like that.
Right.
I also feel like, you know, every actor's journey is so different that in the world of celebrity children coming into the field, my journey has been very different compared to a lot of them.
You made sure you do that. Absolutely. You know, and then now when you look back, you know, then of course you got some great roles. We all loved your performances. Today, you know, if I ask you, was it easy? Like was it an easy journey or was it a tough journey?
Nothing is completely easy or completely tough.
Okay.
I have a lot of guidance, and that is the privilege I say I have because my parents are there to guide me, even emotionally. I have never really used them as a way to get things that I have got because that's not the route that I have taken. But they've been there to guide me and emotionally support me in times where things were tough.
Okay.
But I feel I can never answer that question in a way because I think that it's also uncertain that aaj aisa phase ho sakta hai jahan pe things are fine. Tomorrow perhaps it's not fine. So this tough easy is a constant. You know. But it's been very fulfilling. And I don't think at any point I lost faith. There was a point where I felt that would I have to compromise on what my dreams are? Because would I have to readjust my dreams? Because things are not really going the way I want them to go. But then I decided, you know what? No, don't let this come in the way of what you want for yourself. Just be patient. Because invariably in an actor's life, there's a lot of waiting. You first wait for the audition, then you wait for the result, then you get the part, then you wait for the film to start, then you wait in the vanity van for your shot, then you wait for the film. There's a lot of waiting.
That
so
is
patience is
absolutely
a big part of it.
Right.
And the ones who make it are the ones who are patient and positive and work hard.
Amazing. So the only advantage, say, you got from having actor parents was moral support, and that's what that's
of course an experience. They just have so much experience that they can share with me about so many things. Even when I'm selecting things, I do take their advice, and they won't tell me what to do and what not to do. They'll help me ask myself the right questions, which I think is important. They've raised me to be independent, and they're of the frame of mind that you make your mistakes and you learn from them. We are not going to try and be overprotective. You go out there, which is why even though there was a period in my journey where they could sense that maybe I'm restless and I'm not very happy, and things are not working out as fast as I maybe want them to. Now they're just so proud and they're happy.
I'm sure. I'm 100% sure about that. At what point, which role do you think, or which character did make you realize that yes, I can do this, I am good at this?
I think this feeling of maybe I'm good at this came even at a very early stage when I was auditioning for things. Because that feedback, you get feedback, right? So, and even if sometimes you don't get a role, it doesn't mean because you're not good. You just might not fit the part according to the makers.
Correct.
But I feel you always feel you can do better and better. So I think for me, it's when people who are not invested in my life, when they tell me, it's coming from a very objective space, right? So I think I got these little bit, encouraging moments quite early on, whether it's from certain casting directors. I think early on, a lot of casting directors made me aware that you're on the right path, because that validation is important, even from your casting directors. And then eventually, of course, when your audience likes you, that is the most important thing, because they are not going to please you for the sake of it.
Totally.
They're going to tell you as it is.
Also, having actor parents and seeing the ups and downs, were you prepared, or did they prepare you in some way by telling this will be up and down and hits and flops, or did you know that seeing enough around you?
I don't think you can ever be prepared for anything. Who knows? You never know what happens. Even for example, a film like Fan, which was for YRF, a different film. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. So I mean, it's always a mixed reviews sort of a thing. I think I myself had mentally prepared myself that you don't know until something is done. Your experience might be good, but how the destiny of a film is going to affect your career is something you can't predict. Which is why, say, after Fan, there was a phase where I had 2-3 projects, but they didn't happen because I think the success of the film sort of affected how I was being looked at. So that happens, I guess.
That's a part of it.
That happens.
Was getting Fan and being with Shah Rukh, was that a big high by itself, so early in your career?
It was surreal. In fact, I realized, it hit me when I finally arrived on set and I saw him. I realized, oh my God, this is happening. It'll still feel surreal, to be honest. That feeling won't ever get old. And I think anybody who's worked with him will tell you this, that such a pleasure to work with him. He just has that knack to make everybody feel like they're special, like they value, like they matter. And for me, more than anything else, in between scenes when we would discuss random things, life ki baatein, books ki baatein, just these random conversations are what I hold very dear to me, that I value immensely. And just to see myself on screen with him feels like, oh my God, I did this. Wow.
Does an actor learn from another actor? When you see Shah Rukh Khan, and today we are close to Pathaan releasing, there's so much love, curiosity, this is magic. It's absolutely magical. Do you learn when you see people like that, they opposite you?
Of course. And not just superstars like Shah Rukh, I think I've actually been very fortunate, Rohit, because I've worked with some really good actors.
All different.
And it gets much harder when you're working with someone maybe whose craft you're not vibing with. That becomes a challenge. But I've been lucky like that. I've, whether you look at the Mirzapur cast or the Guilty Minds cast or my Taza Khabar cast or Broken News with Jaideep Ahlawat Ali Fazal, I've been blessed, touchwood, that I've had good actors whom I can learn from constantly. And that, in fact, motivates you to always bring your A game. But my curiosity about the person is always more about them as just people and not even as actors.
Right.
So I remember Jaideep and I, when we were shooting for Broken News, we would just be chatting about the most random things and stories and anecdotes because I want to know the person you are.
Right.
That the world does not fully know.
Right.
So whether it's Shah Rukh, whether it's Ali or everybody, for me that is more fun, and those are the memories I take back.
Right.
Because that also helps me understand, you know, what it takes
Right.
to really be where you are and to continue doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Till a point your parents keep giving you, and then you reach a point where you become your own person.
Yeah.
Today or at some point, did it? It's a big deal to make your parents proud, and you've really done that.
Thank you.
So when did that? When does that hit you, and you realize that okay? And did your parents vocal enough to tell you that do they tell you?
Absolutely, we're friends. They tell me.
So
In
sweet.
fact, they're always so happy when I remember the sweetest thing was when Mirzapur had released. My father was giving interviews for a film he was doing.
Okay.
And one of the people sitting there was shocked. He just got up and he said, "हमें अभी पता चला आप स्वीटी गुप्ता के पापा हैं." Imagine.
sweet.
So I think when people started coming to them, or even this year, I mean, Guilty Minds did something very special for me in my career.
Okay.
It really, for me, that critical acclaim was very, very important. So for them to see me on lists of best performers with actors like Sakshi Tanwar, Gitanjali Kulkarni, and or when people come up to them saying, "We've watched your daughter's work," that to them is very important.
Right.
Rather than magazine covers, rather than press articles, when you have the actual audience coming to them,
Right.
that's very important.
Amazing.
But we're very honest with each other. I think that's very important.
That's important.
If they like something, they tell me. If they think I can better something, they tell me. So.
Super. Now going forward, does it become tougher from here, do you think?
I feel a sense of responsibility more than I've ever felt.
Correct.
Let me just tell you that very honestly. Because I know people are watching, they're keeping an eye.
Right.
And, recently when I saw my name on the Forbes list of 50, and
wonderful.
it just struck me in that moment that, okay, people have taken notice,
Right.
after a long time, people have, sort of, I felt seen as an actor.
Right.
And because the characters that I've played have been genuinely so author-backed, so wonderful, and I've really tried to have a filmography that the characters are very different. So last year, I was a lawyer in Guilty Minds, news reporter in Broken News, sex worker in Taza Khabar.
Right.
When I'm trying to surprise people with my look, with what I can do, that I feel like I don't want to take up things for the sake of it, even if I have to wait.
Right.
I'm okay. And it's not wrong if you're waiting, if you're being patient.
Correct.
So maybe now, yes, I admit I am just sort of taking a step back to just ask myself, what are the things that I want to do?
Right.
What are the makers I want to work with? And just to know that people are interested to follow my journey is enough motivation for me. And sometimes you can't be too careful. Some things will work out, some things won't work out.
Right.
But it's a good feeling to have a bit of that, I have to now, I'm carrying that responsibility.
Right. So you have reached that point where there's interest. What is the answer to this question? What do you want to do? Who do you want to work with?
There is so much more. I don't think any actor will ever have specific answers because, to be honest, we're greedy people, right? We just want to do everything.
More and more.
So because I have focused a lot of my work has been in the OTT space, I feel like some people misunderstand and think that this is all I want to do.
Okay.
But I don't think I'm making decisions based on the medium.
Right.
I'm making decisions based on a script.
Right.
Because I think today a good script is more important than anything else.
Okay.
You can't fool the audience anymore,
Right.
So most of the characters I've liked have incidentally been in the OTT space. So I'm focusing more on film work now because I just think it's a different medium and I am wanting to. So it's not yet announced, but all I can say is I just finished shooting a really fun film in Bhopal with MA Entertainment, which they'll announce soon, wherein I did my first big song.
Wow.
And that is something I wanted to do.
Right.
Because I felt like maybe people might not instinctively imagine me in like a commercial Bollywood film, but I know I have all of it. And I know I
We
can.
also know.
You know what
Right,
I'm
right,
saying?
yeah.
So sometimes I think my temptation is to break these perceptions people have in
Yeah,
their mind.
right.
Also just to do something like a beautiful period film. You know,
Yeah,
something more cinematic,
Right.
because stuff that I've done is more in a real sort of rooted
Right.
space. So जो हमारा out and out वो एक scale और एक जो cinema होता
Yeah,
है,
that's
something like that
right.
would is something perhaps that I'm seeking, but mainly just great writing.
Great writing.
Yes,
Right.
and I'm also very open to working with new people. For me, it's it's not always easy to have access to certain filmmakers, certain production houses, because perhaps they're working with, the casting dynamics is different.
Right.
While the aspiration is also to work with the wish list of your Zoya Akhtar and your Sanjay Leela Bansali and all of that. I do understand that might take its own time. It's a different journey just because of the casting dynamics of all of that. But while I'm making my choices, nothing is more important than a good script for me. Yeah.
Right. When you say casting dynamics and it's tough to get there, what do you mean? Do you think are you giving yourself time to get there? Do you think those roles are made for just a few people? What do you mean?
I mean that there's a business to it. Right?
Yeah.
So when we speak of theatrical, especially today, even when established stars, perhaps those stories, forget stars, certain stories are not able to, working or whatever. I don't know. I don't fully understand the dynamic of it. I feel today people are much more careful, when they're making their choices. I feel like in digitally, there is a little more freedom when you're casting, when you might take someone who purely based on skill,
their talent, right,
rather than somebody who has just been there or is perhaps more established.
And rather than someone who just has a following.
Right. Yeah. But I do see today, actually, it's a little scary to me, because I do notice that today some casting does happen on the basis of following, which is scary to me, because that takes away from the entire purpose.
Correct.
Right? I mean, you're sort of moving away from a quintessential star system and you've come here. I'm not cynical of it, because I just feel like there's enough work where talent is also getting its due. And I also feel like the audience, the makers, they're able to tell what is the intention behind casting and all of that. So I don't waste my time, looking here and there. I mean, I'm just doing my own thing.
Right. Is there enough work? Is there enough good work that you keep getting offers, that keeps coming? Or is there still one has to keep looking out and finding it, going out and finding it?
There's enough work, but there might not always be enough good work that comes in large quantities. By that I mean, it's not like there are 5 amazing scripts. There'll be 2 amazing scripts. But that's still a position of privilege, I would say. To be like, for me, I think at different stages in your life, you will define success in a different way. So for me right now, success would be to be in a position of choice, which I am. But I also know that I have to do my own bit, Rohit, to communicate. I reach out to people and tell them, listen, I like your work, I want to work with you. These are the kind of things I want to do, and there's nothing wrong in that.
You've always been like that? This has always been your...
Yeah, because look, I don't think you can let your ego come in the way ever. In fact, if you see the best actors out there, their best acting, I think the best performances happen when you just let your guard down and when you keep your ego aside. And for me, that's also the kind of person I want to be. So I will never think twice if I want to reach out to someone to let them know that I like their work. Whether they reply or not is up to them. But I know I have done my bit. And I guess that's how you put things out there in the universe. Agar aap bolenge hi nahi to kaise hoga?
Right, but there's a system made by this industry only which has so much frills. There'll be an agency, they want to pitch you in a certain way.
But that also happens.
Right.
That also happens. But that doesn't mean that I will just sit back. And that's not the person I am, at least.
Right. Yeah,
that's just who I am. I'm not the sort of person who will just, okay, let people do their thing. No. I think, especially now, when last year has been wonderfully encouraging for me, I want to use the momentum and to, spill that energy into 2023, to see how I can, just sort of take steps upwards, and to sort of attract better makers, better work. And sometimes I don't have those answers, because there are no fixed answers. There's no fixed strategy. you know. So no one really knows how to go about things.
Yeah, next year we may be sitting there, answers may be different completely.
Absolutely. So it's always a combination of, I think, hard work, opportunity, luck, everything is working together.
Right. So for all the fans who have, because of who you are on the Forbes list, one is, what kind of work should they always keep in mind that you will do?
Good stories.
Good stories.
You'll always enjoy the stories.
That's important.
Yeah. Because today, when there's so much content out there, the idea is to be part of something that's going to be remembered, right? It may or may not, I mean, everyone's taste is different. So it might not, some might like it a lot, some might not so much, but I'd want to be remembered.
Yeah.
You know? So I think for me, if I've enjoyed a story as an audience, I go for it. Because आप इतना भी ज़्यादा नहीं सोच सकते. You don't know.
Correct.
अगर आपको मज़ा आ रहा है, आपको करना चाहिए.
True.
And that's how I think I also hone my instincts. And sometimes I also think it's difficult when you're making decisions, because recently there was a film that came my way, and because I know I want to do films, a part of me felt like, okay, I should do it, but I was not creatively convinced by it. And it took me a long time to make that decision, but I had to say no because I felt like something wasn't feeling right. It was tough, but sometimes you also learn when you say no, I think.
Right. It's like you're waiting to do movies, a role comes. What is it that doesn't work for you in your mind? That
Script.
Story, right? That's the main thing.
The fact that it's only because today you're seeing what's happening, right?
Yeah.
There's no point that, you know, it has to be...
It can't be just another...
It can't be just... Yeah, it can't. I mean, at least not at that level. Absolutely. Later, anything can happen.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Right. And lastly, where will they see you? What all have you shot? What all can you tell us? And what all can you not
well,
tell us?
Unfortunately, there's more what I can't tell. But like I said, there's a film with Emmy Entertainment.
Yes,
and I'm super excited for my song. We shot in Bhopal recently.
Any rough idea when do we see that this
nothing.
year?
I don't know when actually. But they'll announce everything with respect to that at some point. But I ended 2022 with that and started 2023 with that.
Right.
So that's just the most recent thing. Of course, I have season 2 of Broken News with Jaideep Ahlawat and Guilty Minds, you know, with Varun for Amazon. There's a film called Ishke Nadan, which has 3 stories. One is Neena Gupta, Lara Datta, Mohit Raina, Sohail Nair, Mrinal Dutt. There's a bunch of us in it. So it's a nice sort of urban rom-com space.
Right.
I feel like I haven't done enough. I don't think enough rom-coms are made. I mean, I love rom-coms.
Sadly, really.
I love rom-coms.
The last one I saw was Wade in Marathi, which is amazing. Hindi's not making
it. So I feel like rom-coms are also something that I personally really enjoy, and I'm wondering why enough are not made. I'd love to do a rom-com, putting it out there. So that, and there are 1 or 2 things that are sort of brewing right now.
Right.
But I'll make sure that I surprise my audience with different things.
Absolutely, and this is exactly what I wanted from this interview, a good conversation where we get to understand what you're doing and what you want to do. So,
and I'm also very curious, actually. I always ask people, where would you want to see me, you know? Because I like to ask them, where would you want to see me? Because what happens is that, for example, when I did Guilty Minds and Broken News, it released back to back. I shot it apart from each other. The perception immediately was that I'm doing serious roles.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like virtuous characters fighting for the good. Then thankfully immediately Taza Khabar released, and then you have a Madhu who's a sex worker, who's wild, who's a little more glamorous, and I could break that. But the fear is always that you don't want to get stereotyped. Therefore, all my choices are going to be in that direction. And some might work, some may not work, I don't know. But they will be in that direction of wanting to keep breaking the mold perhaps. And I also want to, work internationally.
Wow.
And those steps I have taken in the past.
You're working towards it.
In terms of like, so I did a French film right after Fan. And even Beecham House, which is a series I did with Gurinder Chadda, which is on Netflix, which I shot 4 years ago. We shot that in London. And I think those were steps in that direction, because no matter what profession I'm in, I'd always decided that I want to be global in that position. And today, in fact, you've had your Om Puri Saab, Irfan Khan Saab. You
yeah,
have our very own PC now. You know,
absolutely
you've
killing
had
it.
so many
Yeah.
actors who are doing it
Yeah.
that I am very motivated also to establish myself like that.
Super.
So
That's
I don't know
amazing.
how, in what
Yeah.
direction, but that's the ambition.
But are you someone who who could pick up her bags and just move to a place like LA or somewhere and just give it a shot? Are you that person?
You know, moving and all sounds a little intimidating at this point.
Right.
But you never know
One
where
is
life takes you, to
that's
be
true.
very
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
And I think during COVID also, the casting process has become a little more
Easier,
fluid now, where
right.
you can send auditions. So I keep sending
Okay,
auditions.
okay.
In fact, I had tested for Never Have I Ever also.
Wow, wow.
I had
That's
auditioned for Never Have I Ever. I had also auditioned for Bridgerton season 2.
amazing. So you are going for the big ones
So,
also.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's just great to even get auditions,
Absolutely.
you know, for these shows.
Right, right.
So, and I don't look down on auditions at all. I think it's great. I think
Right.
somehow in India, people tend to look down on auditions, whereas in the West, people are not doing
Everybody
that.
auditions.
You know,
Yeah,
everybody's
everybody.
auditioning. Your biggest
Yeah,
actors
yeah,
are auditioning,
yeah.
and then there are some projects that I have to screen test for, and that's fine. It's exciting, nevertheless. So you never know
You
where
never
our
know
next
which
meeting
next.
is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So can't wait for that. Keep going. This
Thanks.
fire is amazing that you
Thank
have
you.
this fire of being in a good story as your
Yeah.
priority, you said,
Yeah.
and also just going global and being watched everywhere. That's
That's
absolutely
the
amazing.
wish. Let's see. Fingers crossed.
Thank you so much. Shriya.
Thanks,
Lovely speaking to
Rohit.
you.
Likewise. Hi, I'm Shriya Pilgaonkar, and you're watching Bollywood Hungama.